Have you ever felt a strength stirring within you? A quiet power you couldn't explain? As if your very soul was destined for a path you had not yet discovered? This is a story about such a power, not one that is simply given, but one that must be claimed through courage, trial, and the unwavering belief in the person you are meant to become. Our story begins not with our hero, but with a kingdom shrouded in quiet desperation. In the heart of the gleaming city of Eldoria, King Valerius sat upon his marble throne, his hair the color of winter frost, his shoulders stooped by the weight of a crown he feared he would have no one to pass it to. His city was a beacon of civilization, but its light was dimming. The king was old, and without a legitimate heir, the shadows of ambition grew long in his court. His own brother, the ruthless Lord Malachor, circled the throne like a vulture, his sons whispering plots in every darkened corridor. But the most immediate threat sat beside the king himself. Queen Morwenna, a woman of breathtaking beauty and chilling intellect, was a sorceress whose power was woven into the very fabric of the palace. She saw the king's weakness not as a problem to be solved, but as an opportunity to be seized, and she would suffer no rival to whatever future she was secretly crafting. The air in Eldoria was thick with uncertainty, a silent prayer for a savior hanging over the city like a persistent fog. Far from this web of intrigue, on the sun-drenched Isle of Serenity, a young man named Alistair grew into his strength. He was raised by his mother, Alara, a woman of quiet grace and profound wisdom. He knew nothing of Eldoria, of kings or of crowns. His world was the crash of waves against the cliffs, the strength of his own arms as he pulled fishing nets from the sea, and the warmth of the sun on his back. Yet, he was different. While other boys his age were content, Alistair felt a deep, resonant pull toward the horizon, a yearning for a purpose that the small island could not contain. He was faster, stronger, and his mind sharper than any of his peers. There was a fire in him, an inheritance of spirit he did not understand. One day, as he stood on the highest cliff, staring out at the vast, unknowable sea, his mother came to him. She saw the restlessness in his eyes, the same noble fire she had once seen in the eyes of a visiting king long ago. The time for secrets, she knew, was over. Alara led him to a secluded grove, where a colossal stone monolith, ancient and covered in moss, stood as a silent testament to a forgotten promise. It was here she told him the truth. His father was not a simple fisherman lost to the sea, but King Valerius of Eldoria. Years ago, the king had found solace on their island and had fallen in love. But his duty had called him back, and before leaving, he had placed his heirlooms beneath this great stone, declaring that only a son with his royal blood and strength could ever move it. "He left you a legacy, my son," Alara said, her voice trembling with the weight of the years. "But it is not a gift. It is a challenge. Your birthright is not something to be handed to you. It is something you must be worthy of." With a heart pounding with a mix of awe and trepidation, Alistair placed his hands upon the cold, rough stone. He pushed, his muscles straining, his entire being focused on this single, impossible task. The earth groaned, and with a final, heroic surge of will and sinew, the monolith shifted, scraping aside to reveal a hollowed-out space. There, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a short sword with a golden eagle emblazoned on its hilt, and a pair of simple but masterfully crafted leather sandals, worn by the foot of a king. In that moment, Alistair was no longer just a boy from the island. He was the son of a king, with a destiny to claim. The fastest route to Eldoria was by sea, a safe and swift passage. But Alistair refused it. A birthright claimed so easily felt hollow, unearned. He knew that to face the vipers in his father's court, he needed to be more than just the king's son. He needed to be a legend in his own right. He chose instead the perilous land route, a treacherous path known as the Whispering Road. a place where monsters and villains preyed on the foolish and the weak. His journey was not merely to reach his father, but to forge himself into the man Eldoria needed. His first great test came in the shadowed woods, where the path was blocked by a hulking brute known as Gravemaw, the cudgel wielder. This giant of a man carried a tree trunk as a weapon and demanded a toll of gold or life from all who passed. Alistair had no gold, and he would not give his life. Instead of meeting the giant's brute force with his own, he used his mind. He taunted the giant, feigning fear, and led him on a chase through the dense forest. He leaped over fallen logs and ducked under low-hanging branches, tiring the clumsy giant until, with a final, clever maneuver, he trapped Gravemaw in a thicket of thorny vines, disarming him without a single blow. He proved that the sharpest mind is a mightier weapon than the strongest arm. His next trial was one of cruelty and cunning. He reached the Serpent's Pass, a narrow trail clinging to the side of a sheer cliff. Here, a wicked robber named Flintheart would offer to help travelers wash the dust from their feet in a basin of water near the edge, only to kick them over the precipice to their doom. Alistair, hearing whispers of this villain in a nearby village, was prepared. When he met the smiling, deceptively kind Flintheart, he accepted his offer. But as he knelt, he watched the man's feet, not his face. The moment Flintheart's leg swung back for the fatal kick, Alistair rolled aside, grabbing the man's ankle, and using his own momentum to send him tumbling harmlessly into the very basin he used for his wicked trick. Alistair bound the robber and left him for the authorities, cleansing the pass of his evil. He showed that true strength is not just about power, but about justice and protecting the innocent. Finally, dusty, scarred, but with a new, unshakable confidence in his eyes, Alistair arrived at the gates of Eldoria. He did not look like a prince. He looked like a warrior who had walked through fire. His presence in the court caused a stir. The nobles saw a common vagrant, but Queen Morwenna saw something far more dangerous. Her dark arts allowed her to glimpse the truth of his lineage, to see the royal fire that burned within him. He was the one thing she could not control, the rightful heir who would shatter all her carefully laid plans. She acted swiftly, whispering poison into the king's ear. She convinced the weary Valerius that this stranger was an assassin sent by Lord Malachor, a clever agent meant to win his trust and then strike. She proposed a public test of loyalty at a grand feast, a welcoming toast where she would fill the young man's chalice with a rare, untraceable poison. That night, the great hall was filled with the suspicious eyes of the court. Alistair stood before the throne, his simple, weathered clothes a stark contrast to the silks and jewels around him. King Valerius, his mind clouded by Morwenna's lies, looked upon the young man with distrust. The queen smiled, a predator's gleam in her eyes, as a servant brought forth a golden chalice and offered it to Alistair. As he took it, his gaze met the king's. He saw not a father, but a tired, fearful man. In a gesture of respect and humility, Alistair set the cup down for a moment. To show he meant no harm and came to serve, not to demand, he drew the short sword from his belt to carve a slice of roasted meat from the platter before the king. The blade slid from its sheath, and the light of the torches glinted off the golden eagle on its hilt. Time seemed to stop. The king's eyes, clouded with age and suspicion, suddenly widened with a flash of recognition. That sword. He knew that hilt as well as he knew his own hands. His gaze darted down from the sword to Alistair's feet, and there they were. The simple leather sandals, worn and stained with the dust of a long and difficult road. A flood of memory washed over him. A sunlit island, the face of a beloved woman, a promise made to a son he never thought he would see. "No!" the king roared, his voice booming with a strength no one had heard in years. He leaped from his throne and swatted the golden chalice from Alistair's hand. It clattered to the floor, its poisoned contents spilling and sizzling on the stone. The hall erupted in chaos. Morwenna's face turned to a mask of fury as her plot lay exposed. The king, his eyes now filled with tears of regret and joy, pulled Alistair into an embrace, ignoring the gasps of the court. "My son," he whispered. "My son has come home." In that moment, the fog of despair over Eldoria finally broke. Morwenna, her treachery revealed, was banished from the city, her dark influence shattered by the light of truth. Lord Malachor and his sons, seeing the true heir standing before them, a man who had not only the blood of a king, but the proven strength of a hero, retreated into the shadows, their plots turning to dust. Alistair, the boy from the Isle of Serenity, was proclaimed the Prince of Eldoria. He had not simply inherited a throne, he had earned it. He had walked the Whispering Road and silenced its evils. He had faced down giants and schemers, and had arrived not with a claim of privilege, but with a testament of character. And so, remember this: your true inheritance is not the title you are given, but the strength you forge within yourself. The most rewarding journeys are never the easiest ones, and the person you are destined to be is waiting for you at the end of the most difficult path. Choose that path. Walk it with courage. Your own kingdom, whatever it may be, awaits. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales of courage and destiny. See you in the next one.